Good evening. India is the third largest domestic aviation market in the world. In FY 2024, India's passenger traffic stood at over 376 million and aircraft movement at 2.67 million. But for our ever-increasing travel requirements, we need to do more. In the morning, we had the minister here who laid out the agenda of the center in taking things forward. To talk more about the topic, we have an eminent panel here, which comprise Mr. Conclave, CEO and Director of CAPA, Mr. VP Agrawal, who is the former Chairman of the Airports Authority of India, and Mr. Ambar Dubey from McKinsey. I'll come to Mr. Agrawal first because you have a lot of experience and you had spearheaded the modernization of the Airports Authority of India and has seen the transformation as an efficient service provider. How do you view the center's big push towards modernization? If you could just dwell on some of the aspects of how you have done it and what more needs to be done.
Actually, once air taxi operators came in and low-cost carriers like Air Deccan came in, there was a very high growth for passenger traffic, and all the airports were found lacking the capacity and the quality part of it. Then Government of India embarked on the path of privatization of certain airports, and two major airports were allowed in the greenfield, mainly Bangalore and Hyderabad. So that time, we were not very clear what does it mean by world-class airports. So then a committee was set up in 2007 to analyze what is all required. And then, because you can create huge infrastructure, but if it is not rightly utilized, that will be waste of public money. And there may be, since private sector was coming in, and there were issues of tariff and all, so there may be chance was there that somebody may construct something very costly. So that was also in mind. So then we decided that certain area norms must be adopted, which is most economical and desirable. And then we also wanted some quality norms to be adopted for private airports as well as airport authority airports. So that also was adopted, that will try to achieve those targets. And then we started adopting the recommendations of IATA, what is all needed for a good airport or world-class airport. So those were all provided in the private sector airports. The condition was provided that they should have them. And also airport authority airport, we try to provide that. So that is how the journey began. And gradually, good airports came up all over the country. And all capital airports were modernized, and we have reasonably good airports. So we, whenever you travel abroad, at a smaller destination, you were surprised to see a good airport. Now it is not a surprise to us. We go to any small town or secondary towns, there are good airports available. And whatever was created, again, it is not sufficient. Probably a next stage of expansion is coming up. And we are building the airport, again, maintaining the quality and standards. So I'll say in India, we are fairly well placed as far as quality of infrastructure is concerned.
Okay. So we have laid the foundation, but when it comes to world-class airports, and when we compare ourselves with a Singapore or a Dubai, there is a lot that needs to be done, and that is the topic that we have today. So may I just come to Mr. Conclave, if you could elucidate on this point. I mean, where are we really lacking when it comes to taking our airports to that world-class level?
Okay, Arun, thanks very much, and thank you, India Today, for inviting me. First, I will talk about privatization. Towards that is a link to world-class airports. So I think Indian airport privatization has been an exceptional story. In spite of some handicaps like high revenue share, which I have always been against because it's detrimental to making the privatization much more effective. I think we had a world-class, very successful airport privatization. And the impact on aviation and the larger economy perhaps may not be estimated, but it is, it's been very successful. Once you privatize, then you can build world-class airports by design. And what do I mean by design? And whether we do it by design, I don't know. But building a big infrastructure, making it economical for every stakeholder, both B2C and B2B, that's number. How the entire ecosystem works together. It's not an Indigo and a GMR working together. It's the entire government side of service and the private side of service, which integrates to one mission and one purpose. That happens by design. That doesn't happen just by privatization. So if the question is that do we need world-class airports? Yes. How do you build world-class airports? You need to build it by design. Privatization is the first step. Second step is to have one mission, one purpose, which means the private and the government side integrated together, ensuring that the key purposes from a customer point of view, whether we were talking, Amber was talking inside about MCTs, very quick MCTs for connections, making sure the flow is seamless, and the customer is very happy in transiting through the airport or moving through that airport. That cannot happen just by privatization. So to your question, I've always been of the belief, you privatize because you're bringing private energy, private enterprise, and their ability to succeed. But to make world-class airports by design, you cannot just do it by privatization because there is a large part of government involved in it. CASF, they're doing a great job. I'm not saying security, BCAS, air traffic control, and multiple other stakeholders which have to work together. I don't think we are there as far as design is concerned. And the third question towards that is that if we don't do it by design, you will still have great infrastructure, airlines will be happy, but it will not be world-class. And world-class needs to have a mission and purpose. For that, every stakeholder has to work together. Now, your question is how do we make it in Dubai and Singapore? My own sort of belief is, or I believe that it's not possible to reach that level. Because Dubai, 30% of their GDP or 35% of the GDP is from aviation. Emirates plays a critical role. So airport, airline, tourism, Danata, hotels, everything is integrated on one purpose. And that for India to do is not possible.
Okay.
Second, quickly, I will say that if you even attempt to make world-class airports, the ownership of that, I'm not talking about financial ownership, the ownership should be with the federal system. Delhi must be responsible to make GMR a world-class airport, DIAL a world-class airport. Without thinking that this is a private sector airport, should I help him or not? Because by helping DIAL, you're helping your own economy. The urban economics change once you build an airport like DIAL or Mumbai or Bangalore or Hyderabad. So I think that is the second part. If the Delhi government is not there in the making of that world-class airport, I don't think we'll achieve that. So I think it's much more different and difficult, but I think we'll get there.
Okay, so we'll come to the topic again. I think I will let Amber, give his views on the same topic, and then we'll take it on.
Thank you so much, India Today Group and Arun. I remember last time when we were on the same stage, we had spoken about the summer of 25. And now the summer of 25 is here. We have the two mega airports coming up in the National Capital Region and Mumbai, two of our biggest hubs. And this is going to take us into a step jump that the Indian aviation is waiting for. This entire decade, the second decade, the third decade of this century is very sort of a transformative because we had the 6 airports which were given out on PPP, which was stalled since way back from 2004 was the last 2006 was the last PPP round. That happened, and then the reform of the century, which is like the privatization of the national carrier, that happened in 2022. And now we have these 2 big airports, and in between there have been many other greenfield airports which have come in, and the larger airports are also almost about to complete their modernization and expansion program. So as Kapil and Mr. Agarwal mentioned, the foundation has been now laid. Now what we have to do is, as Kapil also alluded to, is to look at what we jokingly call PPT, the people, process, and technology part here. On technology front, if we have to become a hub, and you mentioned about the hubs in Middle East and Southeast Asia, I mean, we need a complete makeover of the transfer processes. As you suppose a Britisher wants to come from, say, UK to go to Australia and hub via Delhi. That's the sort of target we are looking at. That's the new frontier. That we become a hub where the British person doesn't even leave the airport. He just comes to Delhi, very seamlessly moves to to his other flight, transfers to the other flight, and goes on to Australia, Japan, or Singapore, or wherever he has to go to. For that, it's like a symphony. And Kapil also mentioned, in that symphony, you can't have a violin or a drummer or a cello guy playing on his own trip. So the entire symphony has to play according to that, to the notes that they have in front of them. It has to be a whole of nation approach. We'll get into more details as we speak further. But on the technology front, there's something called a airport CDM, ACDM, airport collaborative decision making, wherein every part of the symphony is aware of where the flights are, where the delays are happening. So it helps the airlines, the airports, the associated infrastructure, security, immigration, customs, and also maybe on the city side environment to know where the delays are happening, especially when seasonal disturbances happen, like fog or winter or some natural disturbances. Inside the terminal, again, you need technology in your security processes, immigration processes, which you see in Dubai and Singapore. It's so seamless. In 30 seconds, you're outside the immigration, and they're just e-gates. There's a very nameless, faceless, hardly any human interaction. That's the level of immigration we have to move to. In terms of security, the equipment, I mean, why do you have to take your laptop out? So there are 3D CAT scan machines which can be used for X-rays, and also on the people side, there are body scanners. So, I mean, we can just go on and on. This is a subject which can take maybe hours, but suffice it to say, on the technology front, on the process front, and on the people front, we have to upgrade our universities, the IITs, the IIMs, the Aviation University we have in Amethi, and also have airlines now doing a backward integration, which national carrier is not doing earlier, the erstwhile national carrier, that they are getting into flying training. Okay, instead of having a flight of capital outside where our young boys and girls go to, say, US or Australia or New Zealand or South Africa, okay, for flying training, why can't we train them? This is the original Gurukul of the world. So people, process, technology is what we have to look at. We can also talk about leasing and make in India, repair in India, but maybe we can do that in a subsequent session.
Okay, great. I now come to Mr. Agarwal. In fact, the minister in the morning session, talked about the fact that India can have its own aviation hubs. And this is something that we have been talking for several years, maybe from when, at the time when you were around too. So the minister specifically talked about Delhi, he's talked about Bangalore, Hyderabad, and even Mumbai. What is your feeling about this? I mean, what is holding us back, and are we prepared as a nation to have our own aviation hubs?
The aviation hub basic requirement is that of a good airport and having a good transfer facility for international as well as towards domestic, and connections for domestic, matching with the international operation. So that is, I'll say, more or less in place. From airport perspective point, it is more or less in place. But what is not in place is a airline large enough, having capability of doing that international operation and bringing passengers to India. And we have been traditionally trying to protect Air India for that purpose. And it still continues for some time. Probably at some point we have to let it go. Then probably these airports can potentially become a hub. And moreover, there are certain facilities we have to be prepared to make available at our airports. Like MRO facilities must be available for bigger aircrafts. In case of any emergency rescue operations and not are to be handled, that is also to be taken care for the aircraft I am talking, related to the airlines. So those capabilities traditionally Air India was doing, but now other airlines also have to look towards those facilities. So I think this is not too far. Maybe 7 to 10 years down the line, we may see this happening also in India. This is my guess.
Of course, the government had taken the bold decision of letting Air India go, and now we have got at least two, very large players who have the capability, like he said, to bridge that particular gap. Mr. Kaul, what is your idea? How we can reach, expedite, coming to that.
I missed speaking about 2 points in the first statement of mine. To build world-class airports by design, I'd like to add competitiveness, because if you are basically looking at and comparing Delhi versus Dubai or Singapore, you have to look at which hub is competitive, and the competitiveness framework is assessed, and then you move towards reaching that level. And second is a level playing field. I think with private airports coming in to like Noida and Delhi, whether there is a level playing field for both. So that's another important, and this is basically making airports world-class by design. I think I have always felt that the government's view on hubs is there, their intention is there. When Mr. Scindia was the minister, he pushed the airlines for wide-body aircraft. Sambar was there, that they actually went out of the way to do it. I think government realizes that we must build hubs, and we must encourage airlines to get a wide-body aircraft to do an operation. But the fundamental question is, what kind of a hub do you want? There are 3 types of hubs. Let's say D2I, Lucknow to Delhi, Delhi to London, or London to Delhi, Delhi to Lucknow. That's D2I or I2I. D2I and I to D. That's possible, more like America, like Houston is, or New York is, or SFO is. But to become an I2I hub, which is Dubai, and which is Singapore, even though we have the right location, we have now airlines investing in wide-body aircraft. I'm sure with the government's intent, getting the ecosystem right will be there. But I don't think it's worthwhile for India to participate into that I2I market unless and until there is a lean season and you want to get a filler from Australia to London, those kind of, because they are yield-wise very low. And for India to spend so much of money to build on I2I, my assessment, given the size of our market, given the fact that we will grow for next decades and decades, we're not like Dubai that I'm dependent on 100 countries. This is one country equal to 100. But doing I2I, my assessment would be very limited. We should not even try to do that. Second is that if you really now want to do I2I, which is for the airlines to say that, Air India to say and Indigo to say that I want to participate in the market, risks are mine. You need a world-class infrastructure like Dubai in terms of transfer capability. At the current revenue share, at 42% or 42 or 42%, I'm not sure that it makes sense for DIAL to invest in the transfer capability, which may not be financially feasible. So I've been advocating that if government wants to build a great hub, we had a viability gap funding for Udan. We are planning to do viability gap funding for international part of Udan at some point of time. I think you need a hub development fund, let's say $500 million or $1 billion, and say that the benefits of a hub are to the country and to the region. It will change urban economics completely if you build a hub. You need a world-class cities, you need to have world-class airports. You want to build a financial hub and a trading hub, you need world-class airports. These are proven cases. But the question primarily is that, are we prepared to go to that length? To say that, okay, Delhi, Bangalore and Bombay will become south, west and north and east in Delhi. And I need $500 million. I need to tell DIAL, don't worry about the revenue share. Don't worry about financial feasibility. It's a national project where the federal government will Delhi government will participate, central government would participate. There is an oversight committee which goes hammer and tong against building in a framework. So I'm not sure what are we chasing, to be honest with you. If we want to build a hub, we must have a very comprehensive, integrated, well-thought, implementable plan, and say that I want to participate in I2I. Then the ball game is different. If you're saying D to I or I to D, we're already doing that we will continue to do. So it'll be like an American model. Do we need I to I? We must think about it.
Amber, what do you feel? Do we know where we are headed to?
Well, I'm out of the government, so I can't speak on behalf of the government, and I leave it to that. That debate being kept aside, I would suggest that we also focus on other issues like the what you call jokingly the stepchildren of aviation, and we spoke about the symphony part, cargo, MR, maintenance repair in India, skill in India. These are huge opportunity areas, and the other area which we should also look at is these airports also have to be ready for drone taxis in the future. If you're designing airports today, it'll be difficult to fit in. I mean, we already missed the helicopter revolution, so general aviation is another big area. So when we say a hub is not just about I to I or D to I, but I mean, it's a whole, I mean, sorry for repeating the word symphony. And we missed the helicopter revolution, and our own national helicopter company had to be put on the block, and yet we could not actually sell them off. So for anywhere to anywhere kind of movement, you need helicopters. Okay, and this is also for regional connectivity. It's not just the rich people who use general aviation, which are the small aircraft and helicopters. In fact, general aviation is the vehicle which actually takes flying to unserved areas first, and then the commercial planes follow thereafter. And I mentioned about drones. I think that's the future of aviation, and we have to get our act together. Yes, there were very revolutionary changes of rules, drone rules, where 90% of India was made a green zone. There was a PLI scheme. That's the only PLI scheme in aviation. Maybe it has to be extended now to counter-drone systems or even aerospace manufacturing. We have to manufacture aircraft here. How long will we continue to just be a component supplier to the world? And the last part is on leasing, because leasing is a big part of the aviation value chain. And right now, hitherto is being just done out of, bulk of it is being done out of Ireland. We have a gift city in Gujarat. Many leasing companies have set up branches here, but still the real ownership lies in Ireland. So maybe now it's time for our larger financial institutions, the big banks and funding institutions, to start looking at aviation, as now it's the foundation is laid, and it's a safe business. So now the big financial institutions like in China, Middle East and other locations, they have to get into this game and also have branches in Ireland, because of some amazing treaties that they have set up. That's why Ireland is the hub. They have global tax treaties that it's so easy to move a plane, say from UK to India, from India to Nigeria, from Nigeria to Indonesia, sitting in Ireland. Okay, these are all paper transactions. The aircraft moves in the air, but the paperwork is done out of Ireland. So maybe Indian agencies, Indian institutions should also have a branch in maybe through an inorganic route, like the Chinese have done, and bring more and more leasing revenue back into India. So I would suggest that, I mean, as a hub has multiple aspects to it, and we can spend the whole afternoon discussing various aspects, but everything has to be seen, not just the airport and the airline part. Arun?
Mr. Agarwal, I would like to come to you. It is not just enough to build airports. It's also important to ensure that it is utilized to the maximum. And I think that is where operational efficiency, comes into play. What is your recipe for improving the operational efficiency of our airports?
Are you talking about bigger airports? So bigger airports like Delhi, Mumbai and all, there's a air traffic system still is controlled by airport authority. So therein the efficiency comes that of the air traffic systems. Hello. The efficiency is related to efficiency of air traffic systems there. So luckily, all these airports, major airports, we have new systems. Delhi, we have new system, and Calcutta, Chennai is also fairly new. But Calcutta and Mumbai, probably we are replacing and trying to put new systems. So these systems will take care of the efficiency part of it. That is, the aircraft vacates the runway quickly. Such things can be taken care. And Delhi especially, one taxiway was very critical, which was missing. That was taken up after due clearance from BCS and all. So that has added up to efficiency. So that is efficiencies related to airports, I'll say airside infrastructure, those are taken care. That adds to overall efficiency for the airport. And within airport, there is a operational control room which controls allocation of the base and all services where they are working rightly or not rightly. So Delhi, Mumbai, all these bigger airports have, and other AI airports plus 30 airports also are having this type of systems. So we are taking care of efficient utilizing of our parking base and timely clearances and all. So that is in place, but what is missing is, again, human element. Those who are involved, there is no proper skill training for those persons. So that is missing. That element is required to be addressed in a systematic way because we don't have skilled manpower, rightly skilled manpower to handle it. There is a gap. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Kaul, I want you to just dwell on the UDAN, the scheme. And the minister, when he came in the morning, he was in fact talking about how we have been able to make a big headway in this. And under the Viksit Bharat mission, we have an aim to expand the network from 157 to 350 airports. So how do you view this? How much have we been successful so far?
I would just want to add first on the efficiency part. And we talked about world-class airports. So you are looking at, and that's why I talked about competitiveness. If you look at today, we're doing 500,000 passengers a day. In 5 years, so 7 years will be 1 million a day. International, we started touching 110, 120,000 passengers per day. We'll get to 250 in 5 to 7 years. So we are going to go from 600,000 passengers to domestic and international to about 1.2 million a day. If you look at today, and taking from where Mr. Agarwal said on efficiency, look at our on-time performance. Delhi-Bombay is now a 2-hour 20-minute flight or 2-hour 15-minute. Actually, it's a block hour of 1 hour 50 minutes. You need to give a better on-time performance, so you're creating more block times. This is not for domestic, it's for international. Take that block time off. Even the current on-time performance may not stand up. The point I'm trying to make is, you have to do an honest appraisal and look within and say, on international, am I doing 80 or I'm doing 60? On domestic, am I doing 70 or 60? And is that how I will become a world-class by design when I'm moving from 500,000 to 1 million passengers a day in 5-7 years? So you have to rethink, and as Amber said, not just one thing, almost entire parameters. As for UDAN is concerned, and frankly, I have been of the view that regional connectivity and remote connectivity are two different things. And this has been my view from beginning. Remote connectivity is by wahan jahan train nahi hai. There's no train. I cannot have a bus service. I need to make sure that there is air connectivity, northeast, some parts. That's remote connectivity, fully financed by the government. There should be no issues. On the regional connectivity, you cannot engineer profitability by VGF or anything else. So those are two fundamental aspects. So what is happening currently, if you do a deeper appraisal of UDAN, there is the small independent players negligible because there is no aircraft to do service to UDAN. There's no 30-seater for 50 years. Even the 50-seater is not being made. The earliest entry point is about 70-seater ATR. Bombardiers have gone. So there's only one aircraft type to service, except if you take Chinese or you take Embraer, those are jets. So where is the aircraft type to serve it? So you may take now Twin Otter or you take these aircraft. You cannot make money even if you put water in the fuel tank. So the question should be, the only way UDAN can become successful is to tell Indigo, SpiceJet, Air India, and say, okay, south is yours, north is yours, east is here, I will give you, you invest, and it's in national interest, I'll give you 5 years. They have the balance sheet, they have the network, they have the fleet, they have the maintenance capabilities, everything to do. Bring anybody to UDAN under the current financial feasibility of UDAN. It cannot be successful. Though I must say that government's view of connectivity is not just financial. They're saying it's a strategic issue. Towards that, I think whatever they're doing is great. But is it going to be financially feasible? One has to see that.
Some concluding words from you, Amber, on both the topics that we just discussed, on operational efficiency as well as the UDAN.
Yeah, one critical part of the efficiency is also this concept of Gagan. Gagan is the satellite-based augmentation, navigation system. There are only 4 or 5 countries in the world which have that. Airports Authority, which we had Mr. Agarwal as a chairman then, and ISRO, they have jointly created this satellite-based system. This will help us to even take flying to places which do not have an instrument landing system. Some of the remote airfields can be connected without spending too much money because air navigation equipment comes at a cost. So this is a great initiative by ISRO and Airports Authority, and most of the aircraft nowadays which are coming are already they have the equipment, onboard equipment, which is Gagan compliant. So I guess this Gagan thing has to be pushed very strongly, and this will also help pushing more aircraft in the pipe, okay? Because there's a Delhi-Bombay pipe, invisible pipe, and through Gagan, other than, I mean, just the radar-based navigation, and I'm not a navigation expert, so it's best left to the experts, but what I'm told is that through Gagan and satellites, you don't need to, that aircraft doesn't need to follow the zigzag pattern based on the ground equipment, but now with satellite, just like your car running on Google Maps, you can actually have a straight line, a shorter distance, lesser fuel burn, lesser time taken, and more flights per day. So Gagan is one big initiative that needs to be pushed. And also on the airline front, thanks to the privatization of the national carrier, we now have a duopoly sort of, where 90% of the domestic capacity is controlled by 2 airlines. This is not good. I mean, in any sector, we'll have to find a way, and I'm not here to give any policy advice, but there has to be a way to promote the other carriers to come up without actually giving anybody a crutch, but find a way that the other airlines also come up, because just like US or Europe or say Southeast Asia or Gulf, we can easily, or China, we can have the big 4. We don't need to be restricted to big 2, but we can have a big 4. So that has to be ensured so that, I mean, people have choice and there is competition in the market. And I'll just stop there.
I wanted to end one thing I forgot, and I'm sorry, just take 1 minute more. It took us 90 years to reach a 700 plus fleet. And it'll take us 5 to 7 years to double it. Except China, which was one system, one mission, extra. We are going to go through a phase which we have not even seen and experienced. We are at the seams at 500,000. That too about 100 plus aircrafts on ground. When you double from 500 to 1 million and domestic, international from 110 to 250,000, if we don't think as a system, a larger system, within that will be an airport system, an airline system. One system, one mission, one purpose. Frankly speaking, the risk reward of this growth may be a downside on the rewards and upside on the risks, because this is not a growth that we have seen. So we need to rethink and get everybody involved and assist the government, which is what airlines like Indigo and Air India should do, and everybody who's in the sector, to say that let's work together. We may compete in the market. We are going through once in a generation growth. It has to make foundations for the next decade and decade after. If we fail in the next 5 to 7 years, it will have fundamental issues for decades ahead. So it's very important for everyone that this once in a generation growth is well thought through. You think as an aviation as a system, and everybody collaborates. Otherwise, we will have more, as I said, risks than rewards.
Great. On that lovely note, I think we can end this session. Thank you so much, Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Kapil Kaul, and Mr. Amber Dubey for accepting our invitation and speaking to us. Thank you.